Hi folks, welcome back to the Champions of Westeros. So you're about to watch a top 8 game between Stephen Patane and me, and we have Stephen actually joining us on the video today to do commentary, so we're recording the commentary later. Hello Stephen.
Oh, hello. It was a lovely game.
Yeah, it was a lovely game for some people. It was a lovely game for both of us actually. We had some moments and some not such pleasant moments, but we'll get to those. So as you can see, you will see it from my perspective because I recorded it first person obviously, and Stephen, at any point you can of course tell us whatever is in your hand or what you were thinking about.
I don't remember.
Uh,
But I'll try.
As you can see, I'm playing Lannister Alliance, so it's a Cohor and Banner of the Stag deck with the attachments. It's a rush deck, so need to win 2 or 3 rounds like I did in the previous round against Robert. And Steven is playing his favorite Martell Battle of the Trident.
Yes. I feel like this deck is I feel like I'm the only one properly running this deck. It was played in the one of the other leagues recently though, but
Yeah, in the China versus Europe Championship, it was played and very successfully as well. Won some games.
yeah. I like to say that. I think it has potential, obviously, as that's why I'm playing it.
Yeah, last time I faced it, the previous time, I mean before this game, there were some pretty nasty surprises. So this time I studied it a little bit and I looked at the traits and memorized which challenges I need to be careful about. But unfortunately, my deck is not really one to defend very well or to counter the opponent. It just plays its own things, tries to rush, so not that easy to do. I took a mulligan and now I have the start with Jaime, King's Road and the Reducer, which is pretty decent to be fair, so can't complain about that.
I started off with honestly, it's a very good start for this Trident deck. Just finding any sort of economy early on is pretty important because I actually ran into this in my next game where I unfortunately lost. The lack of economy can just completely crush your game here. So I was glad to see this start here.
Yeah, trying to decide here whether to go for the initiative with the Maiden. It's very important to go first, but I went with Pentoshi because I do have a high cost character and I thought I could immediately put pressure on and just pray that I don't hit Cersei here. It's the one card
I think I got Sir Pounce, I believe. See how good my memory is.
No, it's
No,
Rose Road.
Never mind.
Which in hindsight is not too bad. I did struggle with the economy afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I did manage to go first here, which early on I feel like is a bit important, and you'll probably see why soon. Getting that sort of board presence early on was pretty key here. Plus, I mean, I also saw you had Jaime, so I didn't want you to get that free that free military challenge for nothing.
Army didn't seem too scary at this point, but of course with Rihanna she can always bring something in, and there is something in shadows.
Yeah.
So just a quick calculation here. For the gold I had 10 plus 3 with the King's Row, 10 plus 1 with the Reducer, so that's 14 to work with, and Cersei was non-negotiable. Then had to calculate what to do with the other 7.
Yeah, it did seem like you if you don't find Cersei earlier, if you don't get her out early, you wouldn't have been close, I don't think. So I understand getting her out as quickly as possible. Look at your hand now; it's pretty obvious to put Cersei out. So
yeah, this deck, it's the 75 cards are pretty tough because Cersei is really the one that gets more power than anything else. So you can win with the other cards. There is Renown, you can get Tywin or whatever, and then Disputed Claim on the Lords and Ladies. But Cersei gains power naturally with her ability and with heads on spikes as well, so goes much quicker than anything else.
Yeah. One thing I've really, really respected here was Shireen and Sir Pounds. I didn't even think about that. That's awesome. When I saw that, I was just like, "Fuck, that's really annoying," but I like it.
Yeah, and had to get Shireen because she was with the duplicate as well. It was, I think, important because
Oh yeah, yeah, of
the
course.
3 claim was coming. I knew that at some point. So, and then
Yep.
yeah, the last attachment I saved the gold here for Sir Pounce, which unfortunately now, as you will see, means that Jaime is not strong enough to defend this military, and yeah, the game goes
Yep.
a bit badly at this point because of that. So with the Warhammer instead, I could have defended this one, but of course then Jaime gets knelt, and that's somehow a loss there. I expected just to take the claim here, and then I would still attack with my non-kneeling characters. That was the plan.
Yeah, and the important thing here was, if I was to do that military, I wouldn't really be flipping into anything I claim because a lot of the plots that you have available in Battle of the Trident, the high claim ones are usually war. I know there's like 2 that aren't. I think City Besieged and Vanquish. I think. So I could have done military and flipped into that, but I'm pretty sure I remember what I flipped into, and it made a lot more sense here. Um, yeah, one thing I want to comment on, which you'll probably see quite a bit in this game, is the amount of use you get out of Tata's forced reaction in this deck is absolutely insane. It's basically spending 2 gold to stand a 4 strength Tricon, because you flip a new plot, he returns to shadows, and then you can just pull him back out again. And then when you're ready to keep him, you just pay for the bestow.
Yeah, I remember back in the day when he was being tested, he was initially 5 cost, but it was decided that he shouldn't be able to trigger the win by 5 effects by himself because he can come in so efficiently.
Mm.
Yeah, and here I thought, okay, what's the most important thing? So Dorn is going to draw a bunch of cards against me, so is it worth trying to keep your cards low?
Yeah. I feel like early on, 90% of the time, I just see the opponent giving me power and portfolios, which makes sense. It's not really an issue until I get close to that 15 power. But this flip here was quite crucial.
Yeah. I didn't consider it honestly, even though I checked out all the plots. Forgot about some of them. You can't have everything, obviously. You can't have this and march to the wall and the pointy end and everything that exists. So I thought, okay, duel, relying a bit on luck that the opponent will have good targets. So maybe it isn't in this deck, but yeah, big mistake. And okay, killing Jaime is one thing, but the kneel is really annoying because it just wastes a round for me here because Cersei gains power so quickly if she can just attack.
Yeah, definitely. And I also thought that, flipping into it for a military challenge, you wouldn't really expect that either, usually. And usually I wouldn't. Usually I do that in the plot phase because one thing to note with Battle of the Trident, especially for Martell, is a lot of the higher impact plots have terrible stats. So you don't want to flip into them in the plot phase. Duel is one that has okay stats, so you're happy to flip into it. You're happy to flip into that one in the plot phase and then use those other plots to flip into the challenges phase. But it made the most sense here because it also shut down your attack on Cersei.
Had to ambush Sir Pounce before the claim so she can at least do something.
Yeah, then... so you still did have a mini Cersei available, which is good for you. That's why I respected the Sir Pounce so much.
Yeah, I panicked a bit here, put the milk on Rihanna so that she couldn't bring in a defender for the power challenge. I don't know if you had anything here.
I think I did. I believe I did. But I wasn't too fast because it was this early. But it made sense.
Yeah, so Pounce can come back then after the power. You can trade it after you do the initial intrigue challenge.
Yeah. Now knowing that that your deck is a rush deck, that milk makes a lot more sense because you want to try to get as much power as quickly as possible. But yeah.
And now on the power claim, I get more power in your faction card, so I can put the disputed claim for additional renown here if I want to. But I think actually I go for Serpents again. I think just because it's important to have a non-kneeler.
Yeah, I think that was the right call. I see you hovering that pass button. I don't think you do it.
Yeah, it's dangerous, of course. Only one character left in hand and 3 unprotected characters. I took the dupe of Shireen's claim earlier because I thought, okay, no more ghoulies, so no need to dupe them. That way it's just Wildfire Assault coming, but of course going tall with 3 characters, keeping dupes and bodyguards on them would have been maybe the right call. And the other big mistake, obviously, if I anticipate a duel, I could have defended with Jaime anyway, even though he couldn't win, because then he would be knelt. And of course, duel, you choose 2 characters and then you can kneel Cersei and kill nothing. I think that works out that way.
Is it? I thought that in that case you're forced to kill Jaime.
No, you choose 2 characters, so that you choose Jaime and Cersei. Those were the only 2 targets, and then kneel 1, which can be anything. You kneel Cersei and kill the other. Sorry, what was? So they were both standing, and if I defended with Jaime, I kneel Cersei and kill the. Yeah, it doesn't work out, I think, in my favor.
Yeah, I think because I remember running into this in a physical tournament in one of my local ones with. I had Barristan sell me something along those lines where it's. I think I played Valor M and they played Duel, and I knelt Barry to. No. I can't remember, but either way, I remember there was a scenario where one of the targets I had chosen was already knelt, and I was forced to kill that target because I couldn't.
Sometimes it works out. If you play forced march in the Martian, you can kneel characters in such a way that it fizzles, or part of it fizzles anyway. But not this time.
This Heads on Spikes. I think I remember. I think I only had like 2 characters at hand at this point. So I think I did still get very lucky there though with you, because the Hand's Judgment I didn't think was gonna. Maybe to block a treachery, maybe, but I didn't think it was going to really come into play. I definitely just got a much better start here. Like you can see my economy base a lot wider at the moment.
Stops Cersei attacking.
Exactly, yeah. That's a very lucky Gaston.
And then I think you have the gold here for seized on my economy, which is slightly annoying. I wasn't going to use the filter, I don't think, here, because the 2 chards are basically exactly what I need now to protect against high claim. But the economy that seized stays in play for a while. And I don't get any gold from this ever again, I think.
Yeah, I think it was also just to block that draw, because I knew you were probably having a bit of a tough time with draw.
Just the 4, so the reducer doesn't help me. No Lannister characters. And running out of attachments, so that's the one big thing. You need a few to cycle them correctly, and hitting that Warhammer the previous round was important, because that was one I could have used here just to trade for something else if nothing better.
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't realize that. I did notice I was discarding a lot of attachments early on. But yeah, no, I knew when I found Gaston here. I'm pretty sure I found it with a Dawn trigger. I knew I'm like I have to pick that, because it just prevents you. It prevents you from using Cersei at all. And I think the way that I actually used it eventually wasn't even on Cersei, but it still helped me. I think it might have been on Shireen maybe for some reason. But yeah.
Well, okay, I remember. I can spoil it for you. You did not actually use Gaston in the entire game.
Oh, okay. Must have been a different game then. It was just a threat.
Yeah, I never attacked with Cersei into Gaston, so you kept it, I think, specifically so that I couldn't.
Yeah. One thing to note with Battle of the Trident, because I feel like I've got a lot of knowledge in this agenda and what it can do now, even outside of Martell. One thing I would advise if anyone building Battle of the Trident deck, I would suggest slotting in the 7 characters, like 3 poor fellows, maybe 2 warrior sons, a begging brother or 2, and then use the warrior, because its stats 681 are actually very, very good. Even without the 7 character, very, very good for the amount of plots that you're limited to with Battle of the Trident. There's not many high gold plots available. This is sort of counted as one of them. I mean, there is what is it? Not forced march, but marching orders. But even I tried making that work, and it just doesn't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But then with the added bonus of having those 7 characters, which 2 of them are armies, so it does still help you, is it then turns into a 682 plot, which then the low reserve, you just flip out of that into a different plot, and you've got no issues. But that's a recommendation I have for anyone thinking of making Battle of Trident with any faction, really, not just Martell.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was actually able to defend this military 2-claim challenge, which was slightly surprising to me and an easy call because obviously running out of characters if I have to suffer 2-claim.
Yep.
And then this one, okay, I could have defended in theory with Shireen's Trigger. I waited a bit, as you can see I thought about it here, because power is the one I think where you can get your siege preparations, and you are
Correct.
down to 3 cards here. So, but in the end I thought, okay, Dorn is drawing anyway, so how much draw am I really stopping with that? And it stops me getting anything significant on attack because I have to use, I think, Shireen and Cersei here just to win on defense.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it would also mean that I would also have Ariane ready to defend the power with the Lannister Merchant. But even if you do get that power through, I'm then drawing just another card with Dawn. I think finding Dawn and economy here was realistically it was the main reason why I could do anything.
So just defending with the one guy here to stop the unopposed, and I figured, okay, you can do your siege preparations, but then you might be running out of time. I can win very quickly with my cohort triggers now.
Yeah. And one of the 2 primary reasons why I like Martell with Battle of the Trident is their reserve boost for siege prep. So as you can see here, my reserve is 8 compared to siege prep naturally being 6, purely because of Dawn and some seaports. I think I also have a God's Eye in this deck as well, which I think is a very underrated card at the moment. I think it's very, very good in this deck, which also adds that little bit of reserve, and cannot be discarded either. Yeah, you do get free reign with these challenges though, but I don't think it was too much of a concern. I do understand what you mean though with the lack of attachments. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, so considering the bodyguard, I have a king in the north, so at some point I was going to reveal that, and bodyguard doesn't work, so it's expendable that round, but went for some pounds here. I needed disputed claim on Shireen so that she can get power since Cersei couldn't attack. I thought, okay, if you waste your Gaston on Shireen, that's still decent enough for me. Then Cersei is free to attack next round.
And honestly, I think this was actually the right call, especially looking at what you had available, because this also meant that Cersei wasn't the only threat for me. Shireen, I think the reason why I mentioned I think I returned Shireen to hand with Gaston was I remember Shireen had a fair bit of power on her after by the end of the game. So it was sort of like it was a bit of a choice. Even though Cersei's 7 cost, if you have a Shireen with 4 power, still a bit of a threat. So yeah, I think that was a good call by you. I really like that card in this deck actually.
Which one, Shireen?
Shireen, but Disputed Claim as well.
Yeah, that's the. I think Lannister doesn't have any way of giving power. I mean renown to its non-kneelers, Jaime and Cersei, unless you play the Shield of Lannister. But I'm using only cost 1 attachments here. All of them are cost 1, so all of them can be swapped for one another. And Baratheon gets
sense.
you Disputed Claim for the Lords, so Cersei and Jaime mainly, and the Lords that Baratheon brings in, so Shireen and Delena and also Myrcella from Lannister can get it. And then the other one you get from Banner Stag is Warhammer. So
Yes,
if you go
that
for
one, I like that one
Intimidate.
too. Yeah, very, very good. It was just a shame that got discarded. I mean, I knew in this matchup that I was trying to win initiative as much as possible. And I think I've won it like 2 turns in a row now, I think.
Yeah, you did. Usually I have the
yeah.
Maiden, which helps a little bit, but that Pentoshi play that backfired really because Jaime and Cersei. Jaime got
Yeah.
killed, Cersei got nailed. So if I play the Maiden that round, just put Cersei in, it was a better deal for me, I think, than getting Jaime and then suffering the duel.
Yeah. Yeah, but predicting that duel was probably a bit of a tough one because, and again, there's a little bit of insight to Battle of the Trident. Even though there's quite a few plots you can choose from, and you have 10 plots to choose from, there's not many that you actually want to choose. I know duel is actually one of the flex plots for me. I usually swap between that and maybe what's the one that blanks characters?
Fortified position.
Fortified position. Yeah, that actually helped me, I think, in the previous round game. And yeah, I just thought you're probably going to have 6 or higher here. Otherwise, it's just an empty plot, realistically, in this deck, and you don't really want empty plots in Battle for Trident because you're already so limited in the traits.
Yeah, so getting close to victory here, and I figured, okay, Cersei attacks into Gaston next round, so need to play King in the North to do that, and Bodyguard doesn't work, so trade it for Pounce.
Yep.
Which, in hindsight, if I kept it and played Heads on Spikes instead, I think that was the play, but yeah.
So I actually remember. So, because I was like sort of speaking to myself here, and just saying, okay, so he plays Heads on Spikes. What does he get up to? I'm pretty sure at this point I had no characters before Siege Prep. With Siege Prep, I drew 5 characters. I'm pretty sure. Because I remember I was saying that I keep on just drawing economy. As you can see, I've got a very small hand. I haven't used Ariane for a reason. But now I drew characters. I'm like, he could Heads on Spikes, and it would be a bit of an issue. But I think I'll just let it play out. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, thinking about that here, so basically the choice is either King in the North or Heads on Spikes. If I play Heads on Spikes, then Gaston can be used, and some power goes away from Cersei or from Shireen.
Yep.
So it's not going to close out the game. Okay, Cersei, if I hit with Cersei, it's 14, but then yeah, I get Gaston before I can win, even if I'm first player, which I wouldn't be.
Yeah. No, King of the North was definitely a good play here. I think that this or Heads would have both been equally as good. But blocking out that Gaston was very, very smart of you. Plus, it also stops my Ariane from doing anything. Martell famously had a distinct lack of kings and queens.
Yeah. Not even the attachment that everyone got in the second cycle.
Well, I don't think Martell didn't get an attachment. They just got Marcella, who's anti-king.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so definitely I did not want to see only one character here.
Yeah.
And gold mine, which is okay, you can play it and get rid of the other card, but not this round because of my own king in the north, unfortunately.
Yeah. I was actually hoping for something like this, where you wouldn't draw many characters, because as you know, and if you're ever versing Battle of the Trident, always keep this in mind. High claim, flipping into high claim militaries, especially as Martell, is very possible. You'll see why later on, I believe, but having low cards for high claim intrigue, or having a low amount of characters on the board, can be very dangerous. They have marched, they have high claim plots. Yeah. So seeing no characters here was a bit unfortunate for you, but you were top decking, so it does make a bit of sense. It's just a shame that you played King of the Wall in the same turn. I wonder if you played Heads and Spikes instead. I wonder if it would have turned out any differently.
Yeah, so hitting this one that can beat me on intrigue would have been nice, but not sure about anything else. Still, if you still kill one character, kill all the characters and leave me with one standing, and then Gaston is active because I don't have king in the north, I think still can't win from there.
Yeah. I think here as well, I had a Host of the Bone Way. The only two cards I really cared that I drew was Host, and I think I drew a Windblown as well. Because I was just looking for some more armies. At this point, I had only really found Poolfellows and Tatters, which was luckily enough to start. This Battle of the Trident really suffers if you do not find those armies or commanders. So you want to pack enough in that deck. But I know I put down Boneway. I wasn't going to put Boneway down here, but I knew I had to because it was the only thing that could actually affect you in a King of the North turn.
Yeah, and easy to say in hindsight, but as you see, I played the gold mine here for 2 gold, which since this could have been the last round, it costs me on the dominance calculation. So if I had perfect information, I could have. I should have, even without perfect information, I should have calculated how close I could get. And okay, cut out a part here because of my connection problems. So the intrigue challenge is coming, and of course the threat is flipping into behest, which is a good way to flip into something with the other traits that you can't do otherwise. And the Three-Claimer can be, obviously, you can flip into it before doing military. It has the war trait, so you couldn't do it normally, but with behest, it's possible.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunately it's 10 against 10, so no way to stop it since Shireen cannot be used this round.
Yeah, I know that and the reserve boost in this Martell deck is, I think, the main reason why I love it so much, because I feel like there's a few factions that have a very specific way that they can utilize Battle of the Trident, and Martell can do it in a very unique way with Behest, as you just mentioned. All you have to do is win an intrigue challenge with an army, which Martell do have 2 good armies that with intrigue icons, being Host of the Bone Way and Windblown. They do also have Starfall Cavalry, but they're actually not that amazing in this deck. I don't actually have any in here. You can win those intrigues, and you've also got Tatters. Tatters does also count because he's a commander. Flipping into Desperate Attack, which is the 3-claim plot that we're talking about. As you can see in chat, you're predicting it. But it's also good as an emergency to flip into anything that if you can't win military or power, you have one chance to flip into something impactful with an intrigue. And no other faction has that with this agenda, which I think is very, 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 very fun. I don't think it's an issue, but it can be in some games. With this scenario here, it was probably the main reason why I didn't lose. Because even though you've got no cards, you are also on 11 power, and I'm on 3.
Yeah, so the reason I thought for a while here was if I defended with both, it would be 10 against 10, and then you couldn't intimidate anything. And I have 4 against 2 on military, but with Rihanna...
Yeah.
Oh, she can't be used in King of the North, actually. Did you have any way to
I did have
increase
characters. Sorry, increase the what?
the strength? I mean, if I defended, so to stop intimidate, then you attack with 2 military strength against my 4.
No, I didn't actually have any. So if you defended with both, I remember thinking about this. If you defended with both, I would not have been able to do that military. So I wasn't going to flip into behest. Sorry, into I wasn't going to flip into desperate attack because
so
I knew I
maybe
wouldn't do the military.
yeah, maybe that was the thing to do. Obviously, it costs me all of my ambitions here as well. I could get I would get no additional power, stay on 11 or less, depending on what happened. And I was thinking, okay, I need to somehow win. And then I figured I won't defend at all, even though one of these will die, because I didn't want those two to be intimidated.
You still got extremely close though, even because I'm pretty sure you killed Shireen here.
Yeah, making the calculation because she has disputed claim, but Cersei has the ability, so it's the same power gain. And I was thinking, okay, Shireen has attachment, so is there anything I can do with Qohor to get 1 extra power? And I couldn't. There was nothing
that you can think of. I was actually thinking the same thing, because it's like with the way the power was spread out, I knew you very, very likely had another heads on spikes. So I was keeping that into. You had to keep that into the calculation as well. The only thing I didn't know, which I do know now, is I didn't know what you had for Qohor. If there was anything, I don't think there was anything that you could have had that may have given you an extra power.
There was nothing with Shireen.
Yeah.
So with Cersei on the board, obviously it would have been possible. So I was hoping somehow there would be a target for Sir Pounce, but there isn't. No attachments in place. So if I had at least one here, I just switched to disputed claim for Cersei, and that would be game. Or even seized on your reserve here.
So you can see me being upset that my God's Eye is gone. Secret good card. So one thing interesting about this, and I'm not sure if you noticed this, when I flipped into desperate attack and you didn't kill Cersei, I thought I had lost the game. Because of the reserve that I was now put on because of desperate attack, I thought I was going to be discarding a card from reserve.
Yeah.
Which would give Cersei another trigger. Then I remembered that that desperate attack raises your claim. So the 2 that you discarded from there brought me to exactly 6 cards. That was extremely lucky for me. I will completely admit that, because it completely went over my head. I realized it after I'd done it that I'm like, crap, I think I just gave him the win.
Yeah, I thought you had made the calculation basically, so I thought you were half conceding in the chat here, and I forgot about your 2 claim as well. I thought I get to 13, but then okay, he's kind of conceding, so maybe I win this round. And the dominance was tied, as you can see, so without gold mine being played this round, I win with that. So and then
it was
I
extremely
thought, okay, maybe he doesn't have marched, and that's the reason. But it was. I was still hoping, because you had duel and you had whatever, and you can't have everything. So maybe there was a chance, but no.
No, you had to go for this, because whether I had marched or not, it's your best bet. I know with my Martell deck specifically, marched was more of a recent addition, primarily because of scenarios exactly like this, where I'm able to do like a 3-claim military in the previous challenge, and there's just one more character I'm trying to get rid of, because usually you want to keep your big character after those challenges. So it definitely worked in my favor here. The fact that it's got a high initiative is just lucky, I guess, with marched.
2 non-characters actually paid off was the first card on top of the deck, so if I got that last round, that's one that can be ambushed on an opponent's character and then swapped.
Yeah.
And now too late, so even with the gold mine, I can't get an extra character, and since you are first player, anything that gets put into play here dies, so it's a wasted round. I need to just hope that next round with you win or you die, I draw a bunch of characters and I'm able to somehow re-establish the board, but difficult at this point.
I very clearly have a bigger board here. The only thing you had going for you was the fact that I was on only 1 power, and that 1 power was on a poor fellows. I felt like this entire game was me just trying to stop you from winning, and then this happened, and I was like, okay, now I can try to win. One thing to note for the previous round that I think I remembered as well was if you didn't play King of the North, if you instead played Heads on Spikes, I don't think you would have gone to 14 power because Gaston would have been available, so you wouldn't have been able to use Cersei there. Whilst when you did, because you did play King of the North, you got to 14, but then you weren't able to trigger your gold mines and potentially draw better cards or this or that. So it was a very, very tough choice for you. I don't think you made the wrong choice. I think you made the best choice you could.
Yeah, in hindsight, obviously, if I played it again in the same situation, Heads I think was better, but seeing the draw here as well. Yeah, I didn't know at the time, and I thought, okay, one good round without triggers, and I can win the game.
Yeah, and then that's very unfortunate. Did you have any characters here or anything really that would have been good to draw?
Yeah, so not really. Everything that can gain some quick power is too expensive for my economy situation here. I have Tywin in the deck, Cersei still alive, Renly is in the deck, and then the little characters Shireen and Myrcella and Delena.
I didn't even think of Renly. I like that. That's nice. Chucking in Marcella by just nearly a faction card is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's usually the plan, and he is one of the characters that can still do the ability on King in the North. So he still works and Cersei still works.
Yeah. Yeah, King of the North is a lot of value here. Plus, you've got Boy King as well.
Yes. Does that do anything? So it goes on Lords.
Yeah.
Tywin is passive anyway, so yeah, that doesn't really help, but it can gain some power. Actually, the plan with King in the North is with Qohor, if you ambush it, if you put it into play after claim is applied, it can still trigger if a 3-cost character was claimed, but on the Iron Throne, that's the timing is not implemented exactly correctly, so I don't think it lets you do that, but it should. And often I don't bother because if it's just a casual game, then you need to convince the opponent in chat that this should work, but didn't trigger, so please give me 1 power.
Yeah.
It's tedious, but I would have done it against you if I was on the verge of winning. Not sure if you would take my word for it, but it should be able to trigger in that window.
I usually do. You usually know card rules better than I do, so. Yeah, so you just saw there the Ariane to Abara into Knights of the Sun. That's a very standard sort of jump here. This deck specifically, I think I might do it next turn, but it doesn't really matter. Being able to utilize reinforcements in this deck, which is that crappy 1/0/1 plot that no one has ever played in their life, to jump in, to flip into it after winning a military challenge and put in an Ariane from your hand or potentially discard if she's been discarded, I feel like is really, really unique here. It's obviously, as I said, it doesn't really do much here, as I've pretty much got the board presence that I need. But in those turns where you don't have many characters, you can do a challenge with Ariane, bring it back to hand, win a military, put it back into play with reinforcements, put in another challenge if you want, and then return it a hand to put another person into play. It's just a lot of utility from that one play. Seeing here, drawing Jamie, again, a bit unfortunate, but you did find Tywin. But I mean,
Yeah, he's not going to survive. That's the problem.
yeah, you needed to find that and a Chud, unfortunately, or a bodyguard. In fact, he could have, if you could maybe win a power challenge, you could have maybe put him down with a. I don't know, you can't even afford him and a 1-cost attachment.
No, and Gaston Grey still in play, and I have 0 reserves, so it's not great. I think I went for Renly with an attachment here. I was hoping maybe somehow you don't think it's that big of a threat, and then you let me put in Disputed Claim, and he gets to 7 strength and puts Tywin in. That was the dream play, but you were not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
And I can't even do it actually because the attachments don't work out correctly, so I only have 1. So I need 2. I need Disputed Claim and Warhammer actually are the 2 cards that increase strength to 7.
Yeah.
And even that doesn't quite work out. So what I needed, I think, was for you to play a Sir Pounce target, and then to let me do this, which you weren't going to, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think I have many Sir Pounce targets in this deck. There's obviously Tatters, but I think that's it. But I wasn't gonna pull Tatters out for that exact reason. I didn't want to give you another attachment. But yeah, with For the Realm here, as you can see, I'm just building a wider board. Yeah. It is also good to note with Battle of the Trident that it's got a very bit of a wacky mechanic, as I like to call it. In the last round, where you have 1 plot left in your plot pile, all because of the passive text at the end of Battle of the Trident, all of the plot cards you had removed from the game go back into your used pile. As you can see, it means for 1 turn and 1 turn only, Martell have those 8 used plots. So, Post of the Bone Way is on 12 strength, just for that 1 turn. So until I either trigger Battle of the Trident or I flip a plot next turn, they're going to be like supercharged for that turn. But it also means if you have this has happened once. This interaction has happened once. It was very interesting. If you have Tatters on the board, and you flip into that last turn where all of those plots that were removed from the game go into your used pile, Tatters gets triggered that many times. So my opponent was trying to stop me from getting Tatters back to Shadows with Baking Brothers, but he couldn't stop it being triggered like 5 times because 5 plots were entering your used pile.
Yeah, and it works the other way around as well. So if you're trying to keep him with Bestow, then you get 5 triggers. He's going away. No way to save him.
Yeah, he's leaving. You have no control over that really. So he's another bit of a versatile tool. Doesn't make or break the deck, but at first I thought he was bad with Battle of the Trident. Then I just realized he's actually really good. So you can reuse him. I think unfortunately at this point there wasn't really too much you could do.
No, your last plot wasn't going to save me, and I don't have a reset ready. I think I have supporting the Fate and what was the last one? The Maiden. I never got to use it, so that would have helped possibly in one of the previous rounds, but not in that heads against Marched play. It was still be 8-8 initiative, and I had more power.
Yeah, I think something to note as well is if you found Castle Rock earlier, you would have won.
Yeah,
all you needed was a single power. You're at 14. I was at 1, and that would have been game.
Yeah, that's a great card for this deck, but 75 cards, so can't get everything.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
If you get it, you get it. In the other version of basically this same concept, the Lenny Brotherhood, which plays the neutral characters as Voltrons, you can get that more reliably. You can get you play 3 copies in exchange of information, and there's more chance of getting that. But that deck unfortunately cannot play Cersei, which is the main downside.
So you see that's the reinforcements I was mentioning earlier, where returned Ariane to put Obara in, then won a military and put Ariane back in, and then I return Obara to put Tatters in, and now I can return Ariane to put Obara back in, and it's just a it's a bunch of jumping. It's a lot of jumping.
Yeah.
But
You just need basically 3 unopposed here every round, and okay, getting the extra renown just in case you don't know what my last plot is. So if you can speed up here, it's just so nothing surprising happens, and I'm down to 0 cards as well after this round. So
yeah. Yeah, I think like in hindsight, this sort of game here, I got lucky with finding Dawn early. I wasn't very lucky with characters early, even though it may have looked like I held on. Tatters was probably the only very useful card I found. I didn't have any cards for Ariane to return to hand. As I mentioned, I was stuck with no characters until I drew with Siege Breath. And I guess Tatters was the one that helped me draw that Siege Breath. So I don't know if it would have turned out differently if I didn't find cards, locations, and instead found characters. I think finding Gaston was the key, because it just stopped me from doing really anything with Cersei.
Yeah, so I was just going to play this until the draw phase. I always do. Never concede until I draw in the draw phase. Although even with a scripted perfect draw, there is no way to come back. Okay, so here is the double prompt for Tattered Prince because of Behest and the Warrior. So that's actually works. I think it works correctly. So when revealed abilities which don't exist here would be all resolved first and then the 2 forced reactions next.
Yeah, and I knew this was coming, which is why I bestowed 2 onto Tatters, because I knew I was going to be forced to trigger him twice, and I wanted to keep that renown for 1 turn.
Makes sense.
Just in case. Yeah, that's it's one thing. If you are playing this deck, you really have to consider Tatter's forced reaction, because if you can consider that and you can work around it, then you can utilize them in your favor. Otherwise, it's just going to feel like he's working against you. Like in this scenario, if I bestowed 1, I would have just lost him. Wouldn't have done much in this game because I was lucky enough to just have the board, but in other games it can cost you the game. That Jamie draw is a bit unfortunate, but
well, I do have the 2 gold mines now, so can try my luck.
Ah, there you go. You finally got the gold mines back. That's not a terrible pick. Yeah.
And unfortunately, she has nothing. Even if I use the Archivist first, I think they're all dead. So I only have. She is not really here for the bastard search. She is for the to block the stand. So there's 2 bastards in hiding just to give her some targets so that it doesn't fizzle. But they're both dead.
Yeah. Did you I wonder if there's any other bastards you can slot in there, even just.
Yeah, I've tried my best to find them. There is only Edric Storm, I think, that does anything. Okay, you can get the Bastard of Night Song and stuff like that, but he doesn't work with the attachments package, really. He can take... Well, Disputed Claim, I guess he could take. He is a Bastard, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so thanks, Steven, for doing this with me.
It's alright. That was a bit of a swing game.
One of the better ones I think I've played in this tournament. Really exciting, and it's nothing better than getting basically to 14 power, and then the game turns around. It's good viewing for sure, but not that pleasant when you actually experience it.
Honestly, you looking at your perspective as well, you played it as well as you could, because you were strangled for economy early on, and obviously draw. I wasn't really. Yeah, and the fact that you got to 14 power was very concerning, considering you didn't really draw much. So yeah, very well played. Well built deck. I like it.
All right, so thanks everyone for joining us. You can find the Steven's next game on my channel as well, and then the final will be uploaded shortly as well. So if you would like to see that, you can check that out. So thanks for joining us on this one, and see you next time.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.